So after 6 years, Apple finally gave the AirPods Max a real update. Not just a port swap and not just a new color refresh, an actual generational upgrade with a new chip, some new features, and some meaningful improvements to the things that matter most. I've been using these for the last week, and I wanted to share my thoughts on how things are going so far with the brand new AirPods Max 2. Now, for reference, these are the AirPods Max 2. These are my previous generation. This is the one with USB-C, so if you see them side by side, now you know which one's which. All right, let's start with noise cancellation because that's the first thing that I tested, and Apple says the AirPods Max 2 deliver 1.5 times better ANC than the original. And I wanted to put that to the test in my own environment. Now, you can't hear it, but over there, I have a really loud HVAC system, which is just outside the studio. I can hear it really well. These microphones do a great job of getting rid of it. But it produces a constant low hum that's always been a pretty good real-world test for headphones. With my older AirPods Max, the noise cancellation was already pretty solid. It did a decent job of knocking that hum down. But with the AirPods Max 2, it's noticeably better. Like, I can barely hear it. That HVAC drone gets pushed even further into the background, especially when I have no music playing. I like to test them silently first, and then I'll throw something on. So it's not completely silent, but the real difference is there, and I really think that the 1.5 times improvement is actually a real improvement here. Obviously, once you crank up the volume on both pairs, it's pretty hard to hear anything at this point, but the silent test is good for movies and TV shows where it's not constant loud audio that's blaring at you, but you really need to focus in. And if that hum's going on in the background, it might make you lose focus. I haven't had a chance to test these on an airplane yet, which is my other go-to for really putting noise cancellation to the test. I usually always sit by the engine anyway, so it's pretty loud. I will do that soon. I haven't had a flight here in the last week, but when I do, I'll update you in a further down the line review. But as of right now, for my first week here, it's been very solid, a noticeable improvement that is legitimate. Now, let's talk about sound quality because this is where I'm also pretty impressed. The audio on the AirPods Max was already really good. That was never a complaint, I don't think, for anyone with these headphones. But the AirPods Max 2 take things up a level, and I wasn't expecting that. Apple did add a custom high dynamic range amplifier and a new digital signal processing algorithm to the AirPods Max, and you can actually hear some different results. The biggest thing I noticed is that you're getting even more separation with a lot of these well-produced tracks. So the lows and mids and highs feel more distinct from each other than ever before. A lot of bad pairs of headphones, everything just kind of gets muddied together. Everything has its own space in the mix. The low end has a bit more presence than before. That was kind of what I noticed with the AirPods 2 and 3, the AirPods Pro 2 and 3s when those got updated with the H2. It doesn't bleed into anything else, which is nice. It's controlled, it's punchy, and it adds a lot to the music. The mids and highs sound more natural and detailed, and if you're someone who listens closely to music and how it's mixed, you're going to appreciate with what's going on here. If you've used the AirPods Pro 2 or the AirPods Pro 3, like I mentioned before, the sound profile is also fairly similar with what you're going to get with the AirPods Max 2. It makes sense because, again, they all share that H2 chip. But obviously, it's a different form factor, so the over-ear headphone style takes that same processing and gives it more room to breathe, and it's just a much wider soundstage. The bass hits harder. There's just a lot more full, robust audio to the whole mix that earbuds just really can't match, even though they are really good on its own. Over-ears, in my opinion, just sound way better for music. Now, before we get into the rest of this video, I do want to take a quick minute to tell you more about today's sponsor, Opera. AI tools are moving so fast right now that it honestly feels like every week there's a new model, a new tool, another workflow that you're supposed to learn. And honestly, it can get pretty overwhelming. After 30 years of building browsers, Opera is now exploring what a browser can look like when it's really more about making AI usable inside the work that you already do every day. I've actually been using Neon while working on videos for the channel. So a lot of my workflow involves research, watching keynote clips if we're doing an event video, comparing sources, building out script ideas, etc., etc. And instead of jumping between a bunch of tools, Neon basically brings a lot of that into the browser itself. For example, Neon Chat gives you access to the latest AI models right inside your browser, and you can switch between them depending on the task or whichever supports your workflow. So if I'm researching a topic for a video, I can quickly ask it to summarize a bunch of information or help organize ideas before I even start writing out my script. Then when I need deeper research, I've been using Neon's 1-minute research agent to get grounded on a topic. Instead of digging through articles or documentation or manually piecing everything together, Neon enhances my workflow by not only gathering the research that I need, but turning it all into something structured so that I can actually work with it. Another feature that's surprisingly useful are cards. These are basically shortcuts for recurring tasks, and I've got a couple set up for things that I do on a weekly basis, like summarizing research and brainstorming video ideas. So basically, Neon supports your workflow before you even have to think about it. Your routines are created and saved and there to support your everyday tasks. So the user is able to focus their attention on the things that matter instead of repeating the mundane things. And there's even a Discord channel available for not only a place to give feedback, but where people can experiment with different AI workflows and you can learn about what other people are doing in the community. Neon is available as a subscription at $20 per month, which includes access to multiple AI models directly inside the browser, so everything lives in one workspace instead of separate tools. And if you want to learn more information or check out Neon for yourself, go ahead and subscribe to Opera Neon in the description down below. Spatial audio has been improved too. Instruments feel more precisely placed in the mix, and the overall spatial effect is much more convincing than the first generation. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think these rank at the very top for audio quality, which is kind of what I said with the other generation too, but now I think this firmly cements its place at the top for over-ear wireless headphones. The sound is very good, and they better be, considering that they're still priced at $549. Brands like Sony and Bose have started to raise prices a bit. I believe Sony started off in the $400, $440 range. Granted, you can get them cheaper, and you'll probably be able to find deals on these soon too. But it's getting easier for me to recommend that extra $100 if you're an Apple ecosystem person. You like the fit, you like the look of the AirPods Max. It's kind of a no-brainer for me to recommend these. One thing that I've gotten really into lately, especially when testing these, is lossless audio over wired USB-C. Now, technically, the 2024 version, these ones right here, could also do that. You get 24-bit, 48 kilohertz lossless playback if you use the USB-C cable that's provided in the box. But the AirPods Max 2 makes it sound even better. Whether that's the new amplifier, the updated signal processing, or just a combination of everything, there's a clarity and depth to wired listening on these that I just want to keep coming back to. If you have Apple Music or any lossless library and you haven't tried plugging these in yet, I highly suggest you do. It's a different experience than wireless, and on the AirPods Max 2, it's just even better than what we got on this generation. Speaking of wiring things, latency is much improved when you have it wired in, but even wirelessly, Max 2s now have Bluetooth 5.3 up from Bluetooth 5, so Apple specifically calls out reduced wireless audio here, and I can definitely see a meaningful difference. In practice, this means watching videos and playing games just feels tighter. That tiny delay between what's happening on screen and what you hear in your headphones has been dramatically reduced, especially over a wired USB-C connection. It's obviously even better for gaming or watching videos. The content syncs up really, really well. Now, the H2 chip brings a bunch of other features that are going to be worth it as well, but it's not something that I use on a daily basis. So adaptive audio is a big one. It dynamically blends noise cancellation and transparency mode based on your surroundings. So if you're walking down a quiet street and suddenly there's a loud bus zooming by, the headphones adjust without you doing anything. Conversation awareness is also tied into this. So when you start talking to someone, the AirPods Max 2 automatically lower your music, reduce noise cancellation, and boost the voices around you. And then when you stop talking, everything goes back to normal. It works surprisingly well. It's not my favorite thing because sometimes, and this was with the AirPods Pro 2 and 3s that I've noticed, it often doesn't go back to the audio after you stop having a conversation as quickly as I would like, but that's really my only gripe with that. I usually turn it off sometimes if I'm in an area where it just tends to think that I'm having a conversation when I'm actually not, but most of the time it is pretty helpful, especially on airplanes when the flight attendant's trying to talk to you, although I am a take the headphones off person so they don't think I'm being rude. Let me know in the comments down below what you do. Personalized volume learns your listening habits over time and adjusts automatically based on your environment. And loud sound reduction protects your hearing by dynamically lowering harsh or sudden sounds without ruining the listening experience. Voice isolation is huge, which it's really good for calls. It isolates your voice from background noise so the person on the other end hears you clearly, even in noisy places. And Siri has been updated too, so you can now just say Siri instead of Hey Siri. And Siri interactions lets you respond to announcements by nodding or shaking your head, which is small, but it actually feels very natural once you start using it. And there's also a few other features like camera remote. You can trigger your iPhone's camera by using AirPods, and live translation for real-time conversation translation, which can be incredibly useful for when you're traveling abroad. All of these features are things that the AirPods Pro 2s and 3s have had for a while, and it's honestly about time that they finally came over to the AirPods Max 2. They finally bring feature parity between all of Apple's in-ear and over-the-ear lineups, and having used all of these features from the Pros for the last few months, I can tell you that they work really well. Now, in terms of microphones, let me know what you think of the mics in the comments down below between a brief mic test from the first gen to the second gen AirPods Max. So this is the AirPods Max 2. These are the onboard microphones. Apple says these are studio quality microphones, so would love to hear from you in the comments down below. You guys know the drill. I'm going to do the AirPods Max 2, and then I'll cut over to the original. You tell me which one you think sounds better. Okay, so these are the Gen 1s, technically the Gen 1.5s. They were the refreshes in 2024, but nothing's changed from a hardware perspective, so same microphones. So you can still give me your thoughts on which one you thought sounded better. The previous one was the AirPods Max 2. These are the AirPods Max. Let me know which microphone you prefer. Okay, now let's talk about my biggest gripe, and it's really my only gripe. It's kind of a few things kind of tied into one, and that's the fact that nothing has changed about the design. After 6 years, Apple gave us a new chip upgrade and kept literally everything else the same. They look and feel exactly the same. They are weighing in at 385 grams, exactly the same. Makes it over 100 grams heavier than some of the other competing headphones from Sony and Bose. If you found the first generation heavy during long listening sessions, nothing has changed here, so maybe you might want to avoid these. They're still the heaviest premium over-ear headphones that you can buy, or one of the ones that you would probably buy in this price point. The colors are the same as the 2024 USB-C refresh, so you're getting Starlight, Midnight, these are the blues, purple, and orange. No new options there. The mesh canopy headband, which a lot of people have reported stretching and losing tension over time. These are exactly the same. They still don't fold up for easier storage or travel, which means they take up a lot more space in the bag than folding headphones from literally any other manufacturer. The digital crown is the same, which I do like, so nothing bad there. The button on the side, that's the same. The ear cup attachments magnetically, you can switch them out if you want to. I like those. Those are the same. Visually, you cannot tell these apart from the 2020 version. So if you see somebody walking down the street with any of these colors, they most likely have the older model. And then there's the smart case. I'm going to be blunt. I don't like the smart case. I haven't in the past, and I still don't either. I get some of the design aspects where you can still charge via USB-C here if you need to while they're in that's fine, whatever. Putting it in the bag doesn't protect the canopy, which is what people have reported being the worst part about this from a durability standpoint. There's still no on-off switch. There's no power button. The only way to put it in the low power state is to put it inside of that carrying case, so you still need to use it. I don't know. Every other headphone at this price point has a power button. I don't understand. I guess it's convenient if you do use the smart, case that it just goes into the low power state, but the fact that Apple hasn't changed 6 years of feedback where I feel like no one really liked this is baffling to me. But that's really the biggest thing that I have going. Everything else is amazing. So now, if you're on the fence about buying these, there are rumors that Apple might already be working on an AirPods Max 3 with a lighter redesigned body. And these could come as early as next year, but who knows? It took 6 years to get a chip upgrade, so yeah. But if the design complaints are your primary frustration, then you might just want to wait until next year. But otherwise, if you're new to everything, these are fantastic. Battery life, by the way, is also unchanged, so you still get about 20 hours of listening with Active Noise Cancellation enabled. Given that the H2 chip is more efficient than the H1, it is a little disappointing that we weren't able to squeeze out more battery life, but I never really had a problem with battery life overall. I think they last pretty long for my liking, but there are other headphones that can last longer, so just something to keep in mind. On the plus side, you can get an hour and a half of listening from just a 5-minute charge, which is handy if you forget to top them off. And no, wireless lossless audio still isn't a thing. Lossless playback, again, is via USB-C. A lot of people were hoping that Apple would finally crack that with this generation, but that just hasn't happened. So where does that leave us? The AirPods Max 2 can be very frustrating because they're simultaneously the best sounding wireless over-ear headphones that I've used and a product that feels like it's only half the upgrade it should have been. But let's not take it away from anything. The sound quality is phenomenal. The noise cancellation is really good. The H2 chip features that we were missing are a nice to have bonus here. If you care about audio quality, and I mean, obviously they look really great too. The Apple ecosystem integration is really hard to beat. Highly recommend these if you can deal with the large weight that these present on your head. But otherwise, yeah, if you have the originals, they're definitely worth the upgrade if you liked your originals and you just want new and improved headphones. Otherwise, I would wait until maybe next year, but let me know in the comments down below. Maybe buy a third-party case if you end up getting one of these. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you around in the next video.